The clock on the wall showed 2:03 a.m. as Dean Richard Hayes walked down the empty hallway of Harvard's mathematics building. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He did these late-night checks every few weeks to make sure the building was secure. Most nights. He found nothing but empty classrooms and dark offices, but tonight was different. A soft light came from under the door of room 247. Dean Hayes stopped and listened. He could hear the faint sound of chalk on a blackboard. Someone was in there, working at this hour. He pulled out his keys and quietly unlocked the door. What he saw inside made him freeze. A young black woman stood at the front blackboard. She looked about 19 or 20 years old. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore jeans and a worn Harvard sweatshirt. The entire blackboard was covered with complex mathematical equations. Numbers, symbols, and formulas filled every inch of the black surface. Maya Johnson didn't notice the door opening. She was completely focused on her work. She erased a small section and rewrote it with different numbers. Then she stepped back and studied what she had written. Dean Hayes knew mathematics. He had been teaching it for over 20 years. But these equations were far beyond what any undergraduate student should know. These looked like graduate-level theoretical physics. Some of them looked even more advanced than that. Maya reached for more chalk and continued writing. She added another line of calculations, then connected it to a formula on the other side of the board with a long arrow. "Excuse me," Dean Hayes said softly. Maya spun around, dropping her chalk. Her eyes went wide with fear. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I know I'm not supposed to be here. I was just leaving." She started gathering papers from the desk. Her hands shook as she stuffed notebooks into a worn backpack. "Wait," Dean Hayes said. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. "I'm Richard Hayes, the dean of this department. What's your name?" "Maya Johnson," she said, still trying to pack her things. "I'm really sorry, Dean Hayes. I know the building is supposed to be locked after 10 p.m. How did you get in?" he asked. Maya stopped packing and looked down. "The janitor, Mr. Rodriguez. He lets me in sometimes. He knows I'm a student here. I promise I'm not stealing anything or breaking anything." Dean Hayes looked at the blackboard. Again, the equations were neat and organized. They showed clear mathematical thinking, but they were incredibly complex. "Maya, what year are you?" he asked. "Sophomore," she said quietly. "What's your major?" "Mathematics and physics double major." Dean Hayes walked closer to the blackboard. He recognized some of the formulas, but others were completely new to him. "Did you write all of this?" Maya nodded. Double quotes. "Where did you learn these equations?" "I taught myself," she said. "I've been coming here at night to use the advanced textbooks in the library, and sometimes I work on problems that interest me." Dean Hayes pointed to a section of the board. "This formula here, what is it for?" Maya looked at where he was pointing. "That's for calculating energy requirements for spatial displacement. It's theoretical work on moving objects through folded spacetime." The dean felt his heart skip a beat. Spatial displacement and folded spacetime were concepts that his own research team had been struggling with for 2 years. They were part of a classified government project that Maya shouldn't know anything about. "Where exactly did you learn about spatial displacement?" he asked carefully. "I read about it in Dr. Einstein's later papers and some modern theoretical physics journals. Then I started working out my own calculations." Maya pointed to another section. "I think there might be a way to create localized distortions in spacetime. That could allow for faster-than-light travel." Dean Hayes stared at her. This 19-year-old student had just described the exact goal of a top-secret research project worth millions of dollars. And from the equations on the board, it looked like she might have actually solved parts of it. "Maya," he said slowly, "I think we need to talk." The next morning, Maya sat in the chair across from Dean Hayes' desk. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she kept looking down at the floor. She had barely slept after their meeting the night before. Dean Hayes poured 2 cups of coffee and offered one to Maya. She took it gratefully, wrapping her fingers around the warm mug. "Maya, I want you to know you're not in trouble." Dean Hayes said as he sat down. But I need to understand what you were doing last night. I was just studying, Maya said quietly. I know I shouldn't have been in the building so late, but it's the only time I can really focus. Why is that? Maya took a sip of coffee. I work 2 jobs. I clean offices downtown from 6 a.m. to noon, then I have classes, then I work at a grocery store from 6 p.m. to midnight. The only free time I have is between midnight and 5 a.m. Dean Hayes felt a knot form in his stomach. What about your scholarship? Doesn't that cover your expenses? It covers tuition and some books, but not everything. I have 2 younger brothers at home. My mom works, but it's not enough. I send money home every month. And you've been teaching yourself advanced mathematics during those few hours? Maya nodded. I come to the library and read the graduate textbooks. Sometimes I check out books and take them home, but our apartment is too noisy. My brothers share the living room and the walls are thin, so I come here to think. Dean Hayes leaned forward. Maya, those equations you were working on last night, they're not from any textbook. Where did they come from? I made them up, she said simply. I read about the problems scientists are trying to solve, and I try to work out solutions myself. It helps me understand the concepts better. Can you show me your work? Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out 3 thick notebooks. They were old and worn, held together with rubber bands. She placed them on the desk. Dean Hayes opened the first notebook. Page after page was filled with calculations, diagrams, and formulas. The handwriting was neat and precise. As he flipped through, he saw dates going back over a year. You've been working on this for how long? He asked. About 18 months. I started when I read a paper about the impossibility of faster-than-light travel. I thought maybe the problem was in how scientists were thinking about space and time. Dean. Hayes opened the second notebook. His eyes widened as he saw familiar formulas, but with modifications he had never seen before. These were variations on equations his own research team had been developing. Maya, this formula here, he pointed to a complex equation. What does it solve? It calculates the energy needed to create a stable wormhole. Most scientists think. You need the energy of a star, but I think they're approaching it wrong. If you manipulate the quantum field fluctuations instead of trying to brute force the space-time curvature, you need much less energy. Dean Hayes nearly dropped the notebook. Quantum field manipulation was the exact approach his team had been trying for 6 months. But they had been stuck on the mathematical framework. And this one? He pointed to another equation. That's for maintaining the wormhole stability. The problem isn't creating the distortion, it's keeping it from collapsing. You need a feedback loop that adjusts the field strength in real time. Dean Hayes felt his heart racing. His research team had 3 of the country's top theoretical physicists, and they had been struggling with these exact problems. This undergraduate student had not only identified the issues, but had developed mathematical solutions. Maya, I need to ask you something very important. Have you shown this work to anyone else? No, sir, just you. Have you published anything or put it online? No, I wasn't sure if it was right. I'm just a sophomore. Dean Hayes closed the notebooks and looked at Maya carefully. Maya, what you've done here is extraordinary. These equations could change everything we know about space travel. Maya looked confused. Really? I mean, it's just theoretical math. It's not like anyone could actually build anything from it. Dean Hayes was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the classified research facility, the government contracts, and the team of scientists who had been working on these problems for years. Then he thought about this young woman who had solved them while working 2 jobs and supporting her family. Maya, he said finally, how would you feel about meeting some people who might be very interested in your work? What kind of people? Scientists? Government researchers? People who are trying to solve the same problems you've been working on. Maya's eyes grew wide. You mean real scientists would want to see my notebooks? I think they would be very interested indeed. 1 week later, Maya found herself in the back seat of a black government car. Dean Hayes sat beside her as they drove through the Virginia countryside. Maya had never been this far from Boston before. She clutched her notebooks tightly in her Lap, where exactly are we going? Maya asked for the third time. A research facility, Dean Hayes said. The people there are working on some of the same problems you've been solving. The car turned off the main road and approached a tall fence with guards. After checking their identification, the guards waved them through. Maya saw several large buildings surrounded by more fences and security cameras. This looks like a military base, Maya said nervously. It's a government research center, Dean Hayes explained. Very advanced scientific work happens here. They parked in front of a modern glass building. A woman in a white lab coat came out to meet them. She looked to be in her 40s, with short brown hair and serious eyes. Dean Hayes, the woman said, shaking his hand. I'm Dr. Amanda Foster. I head the research team here. Dr. Foster, this is Maya Johnson, the student I told you about. Dr. Foster looked at Maya with curiosity. You're the one who's been working on space-time manipulation theory? I guess so, Maya said quietly. I've just been doing math problems for fun. Dr. Foster smiled. Well, let's see if your fun math can help us solve some serious problems. Follow me. They walked through several hallways with locked doors and security checkpoints. Finally, they entered a large room filled with computers, whiteboards, and complicated equipment Maya didn't recognize. Welcome to Project Stargate, Dr. Foster said. We're working on developing humanity's first faster-than-light spacecraft. Maya's mouth fell open. You mean like in science fiction movies? Not exactly like the movies, but yes. We're trying to make interstellar travel possible. Dr. Foster led them to a wall covered with equations. We've been working on this for 3 years, but we keep running into the same problems. Maya looked at the equations on the wall. She recognized some of them from her own work, but others were completely different approaches. The main issue, Dr. Foster continued, is energy requirements. Every model we create needs more energy than we can possibly generate. We're missing something fundamental. Maya studied the equations more carefully. After a few minutes, she spoke. I think the problem is here. She pointed to a section of calculations. You're trying to force space-time to bend, but that requires enormous energy. What if instead you worked with the natural quantum fluctuations that already exist? Dr. Foster raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Maya opened one of her notebooks. Space isn't really empty. It's full of tiny quantum fluctuations. If you can amplify those fluctuations in the right way, you can create the same effect with much less energy. Show me, Dr. Foster said. Maya walked to an empty whiteboard and began writing equations. As she worked, Dr. Foster's expression changed from skepticism to amazement. Where did you learn this approach? Dr. Foster asked. I didn't learn it anywhere. I just thought about the problem differently. Maya finished writing and stepped back. Most people think about space travel like pushing through water, but what if space is more like a soap bubble? You don't need to push hard, you just need to find the right spot to pop through. Dr. Foster stared at the whiteboard. The equations Maya had written were elegant and simple, but they solved problems that had stumped her team for months. Maya, how old are you? Dr. Foster asked. 20. And you figured this out by yourself? Yes, ma'am. I work on it at night when I can't sleep. Dr. Foster turned to Dean Hayes. You weren't exaggerating. This is incredible. She looked back at Maya. Maya, how would you feel about joining our research team? We could offer you a full scholarship, a salary, and the chance to work with the best scientists in the country. Maya's eyes went wide. You want me to work here? But I'm just a student. You're not just anything, Dr. Foster said firmly. You might be the key to everything we've been trying to achieve. Maya looked around the room at all the advanced equipment and computers. Then she thought about her mother and brothers back home. I don't know, Maya said slowly. My family needs me. I send money home every month? And I don't know if I'm smart enough to work with real scientists, Dr. Foster smiled. Maya, you just solved in 10 minutes what my team of PhD scientists couldn't. Solve in 6 months. I think you're plenty smart enough. But Maya still looked uncertain. The opportunity was amazing, but leaving her family felt impossible. 3 months later, Maya walked through the research facility like she belonged there. She wore a white lab coat with her name printed on it. Her hair was still in a simple ponytail, but now she carried herself with more confidence. Dr. Foster had convinced Maya to join the team by arranging for her family to receive financial support. Maya's mother could quit her second job, and her brothers could focus on school instead of working part-time jobs. Maya worked alongside Dr. Kevin Murphy, a physicist from MIT, and Dr. Lisa Wang, a specialist in quantum mechanics from Stanford. At first, they had been skeptical about working with an undergraduate student, but Maya's ideas had proven too valuable to ignore. "Maya, come look at this," Dr. Murphy called from his computer terminal. Maya walked over to see what he was examining. On the screen was a three-dimensional model of the alien spacecraft they had been studying. The government had recovered it from a crash site in Nevada 5 years earlier. "We've been trying to understand how their propulsion system works," Dr. Murphy explained. "But every time we think we've figured it out, we hit another wall." Maya studied the model carefully. The alien ship was sleek and silver, with strange geometric patterns along its hull. Inside, they could see a chamber filled with crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with energy. "Have you tried running quantum field analysis on those crystals?" Maya asked. "Of course," Dr. Wang said, joining them. "But the readings don't make sense. The energy patterns are unlike anything we've seen before." Maya tilted her head, thinking, what if they're not generating energy? What if they're manipulating something that's already there? She walked to the whiteboard and began drawing diagrams. "Look, space isn't empty. It's full of quantum foam, tiny fluctuations in reality itself. What if those crystals are designed to grab onto those fluctuations and twist them?" Dr. Foster entered the room carrying a cup of coffee. "Twist them how?" "Like, this," Maya said, drawing more complex diagrams. "Instead of creating a wormhole, what if you create tiny tears in space-time and then stitch them back together in a different pattern? You're not moving through space, you're rearranging space around you." The three senior scientists stared at Maya's drawings. The concept was so simple yet so revolutionary. "That would explain the energy readings," Dr. Wang said slowly. "The crystals aren't producing power, they're redirecting the fundamental forces of the universe." Dr. Murphy ran to his computer and began entering Maya's equations. "If she's right, this changes everything. We wouldn't need massive amounts of energy. We just need the right frequency to resonate with quantum fluctuations." As they worked on Maya's new theory, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the hallways, and an automated voice announced to security. "Alert!" Dr. Foster's phone rang immediately. She answered it with a sharp "Foster here." Maya watched Dr. Foster's face grow pale as she listened to whoever was calling. "How many ships?" Dr. Foster asked. "And they're heading where?" After hanging up, Dr. Foster turned to the team with a grim expression. "We just detected multiple spacecraft entering our solar system. They're using the same technology as the crashed ship we've been studying." "Aliens?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, and based on their trajectory, they'll reach Earth in 6 months." Dr. Murphy looked panicked. "Are they coming in peace?" "We don't know," Dr. Foster said. "But they've been sending signals ahead of them. Our translation computers are still working on it, but the early analysis suggests they want their technology back." Maya felt her stomach drop. "The crashed ship." "They're coming for the crashed ship? And they probably don't know we've been studying it," Dr. Wang added. Dr. Foster nodded grimly. "Which means we have 6 months to either figure out how to defend ourselves or prove to them that we're worth talking to instead of destroying." Maya looked at her equations on the whiteboard, then at the alien ship model on the computer screen. "What if we can do both?" "What do you mean?" Dr. Foster asked. "What if we use their own technology to build something they've never seen before? Something that proves humans can improve on their designs?" Dr. Murphy's eyes lit up. "You mean build our own ship using Maya's modifications to their technology?" "Exactly," Maya said, her confidence growing. "If we can show them that we understand." Their science well enough to make it better. Maybe they'll see us as equals instead of thieves. Dr. Foster looked around the room at her team. Then we better get to work. We have 6 months to build humanity's first interstellar spacecraft and save our planet. Maya picked up her marker and turned back to the whiteboard. Then let's get started. 6 months later, Maya stood in the hangar looking up at humanity's first interstellar spacecraft. The ship was beautiful and strange, combining human engineering with alien technology. They had named it the New Horizon. The ship was smaller than the alien vessel they had studied, but Maya's modifications made it more efficient. Where the alien ship needed massive crystal arrays, the New Horizon used compact quantum resonators that Maya had designed. Final systems. Check complete, announced Captain Jake Collins from the pilot's seat. He was a former Air Force test pilot who had volunteered for the mission. All readings are green. Dr. Foster stood next to Maya in the control room overlooking the hangar. Through the windows, they could see the ship's hull gleaming under the bright lights. Are you sure about this? Dr. Foster asked Maya. We only get one chance. If something goes wrong, the math is solid, Maya said, though her hands were shaking slightly. The quantum field calculations are perfect. It should work. Dr. Murphy approached them carrying a clipboard. Maya, the test flight plan is set. We'll jump to Proxima Centauri, take readings, and return immediately. Total mission time should be 4 hours. 4 hours to travel
Dr. Wang added, joining the group. If this works, it will change everything. Maya nodded but looked nervous. I want to go with them. Absolutely not, Dr. Foster said firmly. This is a test flight. We can't risk losing you if something goes wrong. But I understand the technology better than anyone, Maya argued. If there's a problem during the flight, Captain Collins won't know how to fix it. I will. Dr. Foster was quiet for a moment, considering. The alien fleet was now only 2 weeks away from Earth. If the test failed, they wouldn't have time for another attempt. Fine, Dr. Foster said finally. But you stay strapped in and follow every safety protocol. An hour later, Maya sat in the co-pilot seat of the New Horizon. She wore a specially designed flight suit and felt her heart pounding as the ship's engines powered up. Through the small window, she could see Earth getting smaller below them. Quantum resonators online, Captain Collins reported. Field generators are charging. Maya watched her instruments carefully. The quantum field readings looked exactly like her calculations predicted. Everything looks good from here. We're ready for the jump. Mission Control, this is New Horizon. Captain Collins spoke into his radio. Beginning faster than light test in 10 seconds. Maya held her breath as the countdown reached 0. Suddenly, the stars outside the window stretched into long lines of light. The ship shuddered slightly, then everything went completely black. Did we break something? Captain Collins asked, his voice tense. Maya checked her instruments. No, we're in quantum folk space. This is normal. We should exit near Proxima Centauri in about 2 hours. The flight through fold space was unlike anything Maya had imagined. Outside the windows, she could see swirling patterns of light and color that seemed to move in impossible ways. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Maya, Captain Collins said quietly, look at this reading. Maya looked at the display he was pointing to. Her eyes went wide. That's not possible. What is it? Captain Collins asked. We're not alone in here, Maya said, her voice barely a whisper. There are other ships in fold space. Through the swirling lights, they could see the outlines of massive vessels. Some look similar to the alien ship they had studied, but others were completely different designs. How many? Captain Collins asked. Maya counted quickly. At least 30, maybe more. Suddenly, one of the ships changed course and began moving toward them. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than the New Horizon. Are they hostile? Captain Collins asked, reaching for the weapons controls. Wait, Maya said, studying her readings. They're not attacking. They're scanning us. might touch their ship. Mayas instruments lit up with new data. They're trying to communicate, Maya realized. The scan is uploading information directly to our computers. Captain Collins looked at Maya with amazement. What kind of information? Maya watched as symbols and equations appeared on her screen. Star charts, mathematical formulas. It's like they're welcoming us. Welcoming us to what? Maya stared at the data streaming across her displays. The equations were more advanced than anything she had ever seen, but she was beginning to understand them. Captain, Maya said slowly, I think we just discovered that fold space isn't empty. It's full of travelers from